Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we are really excited today. We are recapping the incredible month of August that Hallmark had. There's Fall into Love Part One. uh, and they had a lot of movies that they premiered, and we're going to be recapping them. And I thought it was an extremely strong month, so it's going to be fun. I am film critic Rachel Wagner. Michelle's here.
Hey everyone.
Yes, and Dara from Dear Hallmark is here.
Hey everybody.
Yay! Now you've been on the podcast before, but you've never been on with me, which is kind of interesting because I'm on most episodes, so it's sort of funny you've been on several times.
Right. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to
Yes.
finally virtually connect with you. So this is
Yes.
really cool.
And for people that might not know, why don't you tell everybody kind of what you do on your show?
Yeah, so Dear Hallmark is a YouTube channel and a podcast, and I mostly review all of the new Hallmark movies that come out, as well as Hallmark movies and mysteries. And I've recently been doing some Up TV and Great American Family movies as well. But I
Mhm.
also interview some of our favorite people, and I just have a bunch of fun just talking. I love the Hallmark channel. I love those
Mhm.
type of movies. So I just have fun talking about those movies.
So have you always been a big Hallmark fan?
Yeah, I've always been a sap. I've always been corny. I've always been cheesy. And
Yeah.
Hallmark just kind of magnifies that. And I've owned it. And it's just kind of what it is?
Yeah. What about you, Michelle? Have you always been a big fan of these kind of rom-com TV movies?
Yeah, pretty much. I think some of the ones that I watched were mostly Lifetime, but like
Mm,
old Lifetime, so it was like sort of issue of the week type movies.
Hmm.
And I'm not quite sure what got me into Hallmark. I think it was probably Countdown to Christmas.
Yeah.
Um,
mm,
and then sort of watching other movies and realizing, oh, I've seen this, or like just a slow progress of finding out how
Yeah.
large the Hallmark world is, which led me to like the Hallmarkies podcast.
Yeah.
Because I everything I watch, I need a podcast to go with it.
Yeah. Well, did they build them as Hallmark movies or they just build as romantic movies there in
Here,
Scotland? Yeah.
yeah, well, we have a channel called Movies 24, which is 24/7,
Uh-huh.
um, made for TV movies, and it is a mix. So
Yeah.
there's some things that are end up being Hallmark acquisitions or end up being on Up TV or end up just I just don't see them anywhere.
Yeah.
And you guys review everything. But there's always familiar faces in them. There's always you can tell
Yeah.
that they are made for TV. We're really slow in getting the new ones, which is why I always say if you want to watch them from here, then you have to watch live. US TV now,
Yeah.
or US 24/7. Online is probably the best way to watch, but again, you have to watch live. And
Yeah,
it's
you're
really
watching it
frustrating.
like 1 in the morning, aren't you? These
Yeah,
certain
wow.
movies.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Christmas is going to kill me.
Yeah.
Oh my word.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, we do have a bunch of movies to talk about, but would you both agree that this was a very strong month for Hallmark? I mean,
Leaps and bounds.
I only have one movie that I would say I didn't like. Everything else I liked on some level to love. You agree, Dara?
Oh yes. This is the strongest month they had all year.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
very proud of Hallmark for sure.
I mean, I'd even say it's one of the strongest non-Christmas months they've ever had,
Yeah.
in my opinion. I mean, really the only major flaw, I guess you could say, is that there's really no fall, but I didn't care because it's like 100 degrees outside. I didn't really care. I was just kind of like, this is just Summer Nights Part Two.
Literally. I mean, they just misnamed it. I'm just going to say it was some miscommunication in the emails. They
Yeah.
just misnamed it. And this is really Summer Nights Part Two. Yeah.
Would you agree, Michelle?
Yeah, 100%.
Mhm.
I mean, first off, I'm glad to be talking with you about something other than Heartland.
Yeah.
That's all Rachel and I talk about is Heartland. So yeah, I'm really lucky that this is the month that I get to come on and review. But I
Yes.
did, you sent me the spreadsheet and I was like, 11 movies, are you serious?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a
Too
lot.
many.
And we won't talk as much about Unthinkably Good Things because we did a whole recap. It's gonna be awesome. Recap with Anne and Bree and Dory and Jasmine. So like dream team
Yeah, that's gonna
covering
be
it.
awesome.
So yeah, it's gonna be really good. But let's dive in and talk about these movies. And we have our 1 to 5 crown scale that we use. So the first one, this was actually this was actually July 30th, A Splash of Love. And it's Rhiannon Fish and Benjamin Hollingsworth, director Heather Hawthorne Doyle. A PhD student expands her studies to include the whales of the Pacific Northwest. There, she meets a whale watching tour guide, and they soon find themselves bonding over more than just orcas. Which I love that summary. Way to go, summary writer. But Michelle, what did you think overall of this one?
I love this one. I mean, like I grew up obsessed with orcas, and there's definitely like that thing of like when you're young, one of your dream jobs is like, oh, I'm going to be like a marine biologist. It's like such a weird thing of like a kid of like, yeah, that's what I'm going to. I think
Mhm.
it's brought up in another Hallmark movie of like, what did you want to be when you grew up? And someone said a marine biologist, but then I like grew up. Um, but yeah, like I love Rhiannon. I
Mhm.
do wish that they would take her out of the sort of nature movies a little bit. It feels like that's her niche. Everything to do with nature, they put her in. I was a little worried about the actual orca scenes, but I feel like they did a pretty good job with what they had. And yeah, you can't go wrong with Benjamin Hollingsworth. Like he's
Yeah.
such a star. He's such a star. And I do like that Rhiannon's character was a little nerdy and very sort of physical comedy as well.
Mhm.
Added a little extra layer.
Yeah. What do you think, Dara, overall?
Overall, I liked it. I love Rhiannon too, Michelle. She's one of
Hmm
my favorites. I think the biggest thing though that took me out of the movie was that she was developing this relationship with Benjamin's character. I think his name was Ben in the movie.
Yeah, yeah,
While
fine.
she was still in a relationship, and I think that
Hmm
took me out of the movie a little bit. But if that didn't happen, I would have been all in for this
Mhm.
movie because I love the Pacific Northwest kind of harbor
hmm
feel. I know nothing about marine biology in no way, but I'm still fascinated by like learning all of the particulars of something that I don't know anything about. So I would have been all in, but I think that the biggest part was how they developed their affection for one another. That took me out. But Benjamin Hollingsworth is king, and
Yeah.
he can do no wrong in my eyes.
I can understand that, except for the fact that the boyfriend was totally hilarious and ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah,
this
he
is
was a
he's
bum.
like, we're gonna have our a dream office that we share. That made me laugh really hard. It's ridiculous. I mean, who on earth is like, ooh, swoon worthy? We've got this very
Shared
small,
office.
cramped office together.
Yeah, he's a bum.
It
He
was
needed to
so
go.
funny. Like they don't do the over the top bad boyfriends anymore as much on Hallmark as they used to, but or girlfriends depending on this story. But I enjoy it when they do it because we have a couple bad ones in this grouping, but
Mhm.
that really made me laugh. I was just like, what?
Like, are you serious?
Yeah. So it's hard to like take him seriously as a love interest and
Okay.
feel bad that she's, I guess, technically cheating, quote unquote, when he's so absurd, you know. You do have Laura Soltis in this as the B&B owner, and this was a good stretch for her because she was in this and in Romance and Style. As the she gets a more juicy role in Romance and Style, but
Yeah.
she's always reliable. You can always count on her being doing a good job. and there's this whole thing with her getting supplies for the restaurant, and then cooking for her, helping her. They make like surf and turf and oysters and things like that.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Seafood is my love language, so I'm all in on like the seafood, everything, all of it.
Yeah. The only part I didn't like in this movie was the whole Northern Lights scene was so cheesy, and I felt like it didn't fit. Like, I'm like, this isn't Montana. Like, why are they? I mean, I think this was supposed to be in like, wasn't this supposed to be in like Washington State or something?
Yeah.
So that was the only part that I'm like, you don't
They
need to
always
bring the
insist
Northern
on doing
Lights
it.
into
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. They always insist on doing it, and every time it looks terrible.
Yeah.
It looks like a wallpaper of like a
Yeah.
Like a screensaver when your computer goes to sleep.
Yeah.
It really, I could probably pull up a background on Zoom and it would probably look
Look better. Yeah.
Northern Lights background. They did have a classic Hallmark meet cute with the vehicle, her smart car breaking down, which was funny. I mean, I think that's why I have never met the man of my dreams, because I just have a too reliable of a car.
I appreciate that though, because even though we've seen it like 11 times, like I don't tire of ever seeing it happen.
Yeah. So yeah, what would you give this movie 1 to 5 crowns? What do you think, Michelle?
I would say 3.5. I felt like it was, not, didn't really knock out of the park, but it was very watchable. And the two leads were fantastic. So yeah, 3.5.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's around what I would give. What do you think, Dara?
I was gonna give it just a solid 3. It's kind of like middle of the road, like it gets the job done in terms of the feels and why you watch Hallmark movies. So I give it like a solid 3.
Yeah. All right. Well, then next we had on Movies Mysteries, we have 14 Love Letters. And this is Vanessa Sears and Franco Lopresti and Amy Force director. After historic love letters start anonymously appearing in Kelly Sharp's mailbox, the hobby farmer searches for her secret admirer and opens herself up to love. So this is the one that I did not care for out of this grouping. I didn't love it, mostly because I just found her irritating. I was just like, why are you being this way? I don't understand why she's mad at her mom for doing something like legitimately nice. And to her, I just felt like she was pouty and irritating, and I didn't think the performance was that good. I didn't think the acting was very good in this one. But the guys were great. Super, super dreamy, all three. But Dara, you seem to be agreeing with what I've said here.
Oh, I was so mad at this movie because I was so excited about it. Because seeing Franco, I saw him in an Up TV movie with Brittany Bristow, and he did really well in that. And so to finally see him on Hallmark, I was like, oh my gosh, let's go, Franco. And even the young lady Vanessa Sears, I saw her in a supporting role in a Lifetime Christmas movie. So I was happy to see her in a leading role. And then I watched it and I'm just like, what the heck happened? The story was all over the place for me. I don't understand why she was mad at him we never understood, or they never told us why she just started off irritated at him.
Yeah, she's like mad at him because he knew like a day before her and I guess didn't tell her.
Well, even like in the beginning, it seems like she's giving him attitude. Like even before the whole love letter situation, you know what I mean? And I'm just
it's just like, how dare people do something nice for you to make you like cheer up? I don't know. I was just very confused why she was so upset. And
that whole movie was confusing, and her affection for him came out of nowhere, in my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah, I was kind of feeling it more with her and the teacher guy.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I was rooting for him. I wanted him to be more involved. And then I was confused about her mom because I thought her mom was just a mother figure. I didn't know it was like her biological mom. I was just confused. Like this whole movie was confusing and it was disappointing.
Yeah.
What
do you think, Michelle?
Well, I'm sat here feeling really relieved that this is the only one I haven't seen.
Okay.
So yeah, it feels like
Yeah.
I won this month by skipping this one.
Yeah.
I
Uh,
didn't know this was a Hallmark movie in my defense. Like, I had no idea.
well, yeah, and it is tricky to in the world of Hallmark when you doing anything involving letters, you're going to be compared to Signed, Sealed, Delivered, and this by
Mm.
far did not compare writing or story or anything. So that's tough, and I don't know. I mean, I just feel like she should have just been like, oh, look at this cool thing that happened to me, and my mom did this fun, nice thing for me, instead of being like, I never want to talk to any of you again. You betrayed me.
Now, Rachel, how did you feel when they revealed who sent the love letters? Like, how was that for you?
Well, I thought it was fine. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can understand why maybe she was a little bit flustered, have it
Mm-hmm.
revealed like that they were the dancing club, right?
It was
Whatever.
some type of like
Yeah,
festivus or
festival.
something. Yeah.
It's been a couple weeks since I've seen this one. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I can understand why she was maybe flustered or maybe a little embarrassed, but I don't understand why she's like, I never want to talk to you again.
Yeah.
Stay out of my
And
life.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would give this one I'm gonna give it 2 crowns. That's probably being a little generous. Dara, what about you?
I'm giving it a crown for the music. The music was really good in this movie,
I
and that's my crown.
Yeah, I give it 2 just for the dreamy guys. They're very
Heard.
pretty. But other than that, we'd like to take a second from this episode of the podcast to celebrate our sponsor of this episode, and that is the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast?
Do you want an inside scoop into what happens on the podcast?
Do you want early access to episodes and loads of cool perks?
Now is the time to become a patron of Hallmarkies podcast.
By becoming a patron, you get to access our patron Facebook group.
You can request episodes or even be a guest on the podcast.
And most importantly, any patron can join our monthly movie watch-alongs with stars like Paul Campbell, Natalie Hall, and more.
It's as low as $2 a month to join in and become a special part of the Hallmarkies family.
Please consider, and we will love you forever.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
All right. So next we have Love in the Limelight, and this stars the Pennevegas, and it's Ron Oliver directing. Pen pals with Nick for years, Summer's reluctant for a relationship with him to go public when the former boy band singer comes to town for a comeback concert. So, yes. So this movie loves Utah like nothing else. I mean, it was very exciting. As a Utahn, it was like, what? All these scenes. Isn't Salt Lake the best? That's the best neighborhood or the best. Look how beautiful it is. So that was a win. And I really found this whole movie to be very charming. I really enjoyed it. You can tell it has that Ron Oliver touch. He makes these movies very classic. And it's kind of fun that it was based on a true story.
Mm-hmm.
It had that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But Michelle, what do you think overall of this one?
Yeah, I really like this one. It was interesting you asked earlier about how I got into Hallmark. I was never attached to any of the mysteries because when I came in, they were all very much ongoing. They were in like their 10th movie or like multiple seasons. I just could never find like an entry point. And it just felt like such a huge backlog. So in all the new mysteries that I would watch, I was never very like drawn to them. Even Mysteries 101 I liked fine, but for me it was picture perfect mysteries. That was like perfect, like their chemistry. I mean, we've seen it multiple times with real life couples in Hallmark. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And with them, every single time, like their chemistry is just perfect on screen. And I loved this. I thought the music was great. I thought the way that Summer set her boundaries was perfect. Like she was very upfront of like, this is what I want. This is how like I don't want your fame to interfere with my life. But also you could see that she was very closed off and very sort of stuck to her routine. And so yeah, the dad I found a little bit intense, but I did like that literally the next scene it was an explanation of why he felt that way towards Nick. And I thought the bullying storyline, again, something that you don't necessarily see in Hallmark a lot. But yeah, overall this really, really worked for me.
Yeah. What did you think, Dara?
I enjoyed this movie. The fashion did it for me. Every last one
Mm.
of Summer's outfits were a knockout smash hit. I thought it funny that her name was Summer and his manager's name was AC, and it was a fall into love movie. I was like, isn't that funny? I thought that was like Hallmark winking at us a
I
little
didn't
bit.
even think of that. That's
Yeah. The story, it felt like it was like picking up momentum the entire time, so the pacing was a little bit weird for me, but I enjoyed it. I love the integration of Latin culture with them, that it was like Latin culture wasn't the plot line, it was just them, living their lives, and this is their story. Yeah, I thought it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did too. I mean, in a normal month, this would be a big win for me, because I really, obviously, they have good chemistry, but this is definitely my favorite of the movies they made together for Hallmark,
Mm,
for sure. I thought the dad was tough, but not like unreasonable, because sometimes
yeah.
you get this. I don't know if they're all trying to be father of the bride or what, but you get this just unreasonable father,
Yeah.
that I mean, it's not like, it's one thing if they're teenagers. These are not teenagers. These are full grown adults. Like,
Yeah, 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 for sure.
and I
Yeah.
liked the fact that yes, she is insecure and obviously very upset when the paparazzi thing happens. But the whole conversation between her and her grandma, where basically her grandma says, "You are strong enough to do this,"
Hmm.
I thought was a good moment, and her realizing that she doesn't have to let other people make her choices for her, as
Hmm.
far as the being with Nick. I actually did enjoy the music too, which usually in this kind of thing is not great. So
Yeah,
I thought it was solid. The I would, like, if it was playing on my Spotify playlist, I would listen to it. That
yeah.
Back to the Basics or whatever song. It was,
Yeah, the one he was playing on
yeah.
the acoustic guitar. Yeah, yeah,
Give
yeah.
me the basics, I think is what it was called. She's pretty tough on Nick. There's a little side of me that's like, would he really be that interested in her? Because she's pretty rude about, like, that he dates losers and that he's, I don't know, that not wanting to, at first at least, that whole conversation in the sushi restaurant is pretty awkward.
Mm, mm-hmm.
But they have the kiss, which was a great kiss, and then uh, just, they're like, just friends. Oh, sure, just
Right,
friends.
right. Yeah, right.
And then she's like, okay, after that kiss, you're ready to meet my family.
I was gonna say, so when are you meeting my parents?
Yeah. uh, so that was good. I really liked the scene at her house when he's playing, like you said, the acoustic, and you see her parents in the background
Yes,
dancing. That was a nice
yes. Oh,
scene.
that was a moment. That's a moment. Yeah.
And hopefully it made everybody watching want to come visit Utah.
That's all. Oh, Utah, Salt Lake City's always been on my list.
Yeah. Well,
As
let
like
me know if you come.
as a winter like destination.
Yeah. Uh, so yeah, and I thought it was a pretty, like I said, pretty good conflict. And I also liked the fact that in the ending that he wants to stay there with her and not
Hmm.
her having to move to wherever he's going. That was sweet.
I like that too, that she didn't have to like go on the road with him or anything. Like she can still have her job, which I thought it was cool that they like human resources. I thought that was a cool like
Oh yeah,
profession
yeah.
for our leading lady. You don't see that a lot.
Yeah, that's true. And her dealing with that guy and his complaints about the
Oh,
noise.
and
Oh
the
my
but
God.
was it bunnies or
The
rabbits or
bunny.
something?
Yeah, that was good. So yeah, I would give this one pretty high. I mean, I give it 4.25 rounds. What about you, Michelle?
Yeah, I would give it 4. Just
Mhm.
because the Vegas are just so good. So they're
Yeah.
so good. I'll watch anything they're in. So yeah, 4
Mhm.
crowns.
Yeah, and this will stay on my DVR. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, if I really like it, if it stays on my DVR,
That's true. That's a true
the,
statement.
that space is prized. But Dara, what would you give it?
I'll give it 3.5. I really enjoyed it, but the pacing was a little bit off for
Mm.
me with this story, but I still enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. All right, then we have Big Sky River, and this stars Emmanuel Vigar and Kevin Smith, director Peter Benson, and it's Tara needs to go back to Parable, Montana, the place that made her the happiest, in order to move forward after a messy divorce. Her handsome neighbor presents an unexpected twist. So this is based on a book, evidently, and
Hmm.
it was exciting to have Emmanuel back because it's been 6 years, I think, since she's done one. So that was
Yeah.
fun. It
Mm-hmm.
was fun to have her on the podcast. But yeah, what did you think, Dara, overall of this one?
Oh, I love the mess out of this. This was like the perfect, slow, grown folk Hallmark movies and mystery movie that I needed, especially after coming off of 14 Love Letters. I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. Because Hallmark movies and mysteries has been hitting it out of the park with every last one of their movies, in my opinion. And I was like, this is great. Like, this was slow, but in the best way, because I feel like we were really watching a story unfold. And I loved how they let moments breathe between
Mm-hmm.
Tara and Sheriff Boone. And I love to hate Peter Benson's character as the villain of an ex-husband. When I saw him pop out, I was like, no! But I was like, yes! Because I was happy to see him. So I like he did such a good job because you really hated the ex-husband. Like you could tell he really didn't give two lick of beans about his daughter. And I love like there were so many beautiful moments between Tara and Boone. Like one of my favorites was when she was sitting outside just in the night and she sees him across the way and then all of a sudden her phone rings and it's him and they're like looking at each other across the way talking and it was just so simple but so beautiful. Like this movie captured a lot of simple, beautiful yet intimate moments that I really appreciated overall.
What do you think, Michelle?
Yeah, it felt like we were back in the home the Heartland world for a second there. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, here we go. To the ranch. Back to the ranch.
It really,
Yeah,
you could picture Lou and
yeah,
Peter basically in this.
yeah. So yeah, I found the family situation confusing. I was like, wait, what's going on here? Like, she's not the mom, but she's raised like he was so awful. Like Peter Benson was so awful in this film. Like it sort of took me out of it a little bit because I was just like, this guy
Mm,
is just beyond. Like he is
Yeah.
absolutely beyond. This woman raised his daughter for for the better part of her life, and then he is just trying to cut her out. Like that is so awful. And I will say Cassidy is it Cassidy Nugent
Yeah.
is the little girl is so good. Like I feel like if it was anyone else, it wouldn't have worked as well. But overall, I really liked the movie. It was just I found the family dynamics of like, okay, so she's got the ex-husband, she's got the new love interest, he's a widow, he's got the two sons, and there's all these sort of different levels of grief going on.
yeah.
So I found it, and I will say like most of the Hallmark movies and mysteries have worked for me. Like this whole new drama thing that they're doing, of family dramas and different sort of ways of representing love has really worked for me. But a lot of them feel like pilots. A lot of them feel like
Yeah.
pilots to
You're
TV
so
shows.
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, this is a TV show that I would happily watch, but it feels a little incomplete. Um,
Yeah. I
some of them,
do agree with you there, and that the problem is I just think it's harder than with the rom-coms
hmm
to make them not feel rushed, these dramas.
yeah,
Yeah.
Because one of the nice things about rom-coms is that there's these set sort of archetypes that you immediately, okay, this is the bad man of business. This is so you don't need to spend a lot of time developing characters because you immediately know, okay, this is what this person's supposed to do in the story. And dramas aren't like that. They don't have the same kind of archetypes for these kind of dramas. So you have to spend more time developing characters. And I think that can make it feel rushed. I do think it is extremely unlikely that if the biological mother was not living, which seemed like she'd passed away, of this little girl, that and then she had raised her. I just can't imagine a situation where you wouldn't formally adopt the daughter. And she's
Mm-hmm.
been they were married for I think 12 years, they said. And that just makes no sense that if you'd had this child since an infant that you wouldn't formally adopt. And to expect them to just separate because he's getting married again is really cruel. I mean, it would be traumatic for a child
Yeah,
to
yeah.
all of a
And
sudden
she
be
was,
like, sorry, I'm not your mom anymore.
yeah,
Yeah.
and she was very vocal of like, that's my mum.
Yeah.
So that's how that you sort of nailed it, Rachel. It felt very cruel, and that's what sort of took me out of it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
it'd be one thing if you were like if she'd been married to the Peter Benson character for like 2 years or something, and
yeah,
they had just formed a really tight bond within that 2 years. But literally, they
Mhm.
were saying that she had raised her since she was a baby. It just
Yeah.
there's
Mhm.
no way you wouldn't have adopted her. But yeah, I was willing to put that aside and still enjoy it. But I do think that was a problem. There were cute scenes like when he comes over and rescues her from the raccoon. That was funny.
Yeah.
That was a good
yeah,
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah.
I thought that all of the children were very strong in this. They weren't
Yes.
that kind of annoying mop top that sometimes you get. They were like real and solid, and they
Mhm.
all
Yeah.
three did a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm wondering how much of the storyline is true to the book. Because
Yeah,
like
I'm
when you were
curious
talking
too.
about the family dynamic, I wonder if that's something they took creative license on to make it more dramatic, or if that was actually something that was in the book.
But yeah, I mean, I wrote down that Peter Benson is a supervillain in this movie.
Yes! Yes, he
He's
is.
so
Yeah.
bad. He's
It's
so
so
mean.
awful.
What? But she also kind of kidnaps the child. Like legally, she could
I
be
mean, if you want to
prosecuted.
put words on it, sure. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
this is Hallmark, you know.
And I have to admit, I kind of struggled a little bit with Kevin Smith as this sort of cowboy, like rugged type. I don't know if it
Mhm.
was the best casting. Like, I'm fine with him as an actor. I don't know. I think if it had been someone, I think if it had been someone like Tyler Hines with like a little more edge, I think it
Mhm.
might have worked a
Okay.
little bit better. Even a Christopher Ploa, someone like that with just like a tiny bit more edge than Kevin Smith has. And maybe he's too much Leland Coulter for me from One Calls the Heart. I don't know. Um,
Oh,
but
okay.
but that was a little bit of a struggle, but I still overall enjoyed it. I thought that they worked well together. It was so beautiful. And like I said, the kids I thought were really strong. It had a nice
Yeah.
emotion. So yeah, I would give this one 3 crowns. What about you, Dara?
5 all around drinks on the
Yeah.
movie.
Oh,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
very good. Very good. Michelle, what about you?
Yeah, I would say 3.5.
Yeah.
Give it a little bit extra. I really liked the kids. I thought the kids
Yeah,
were like the star of this one.
I agree. They were really good. Okay, next we have Romance and Style. It's so we have JC Elliott, Benjamin Hollingsworth, director Michael Robinson, and Ella's unique designs inspire publishing mogul Derek to include plus-size fashion in his magazine. Soon, Derek begins to realize that Ella's influence reaches far beyond the catwalk. So, Dara, overall, what do you think about this one?
Oh my gosh. I'm still in recovery from this movie. I've never seen a man so forward, so debonair, so suave, so you better get him. Just like I'm gonna go get you, girl. Like he gave me everything I wanted in my Hallmark hero. Like he was slick. without being obnoxious at times. He, dare I say, at times, like he was putting it on, and I wasn't ready, and I appreciated it all. I just think the one little, like, if I had to nitpick, the one thing that I feel like dragged this movie down is them trying to like rush and put a whole Cinderella complex on the movie. I was like, we didn't even need that. Like, don't nobody care. Let's just continue to love the movie.
Mhm.
But they had the performances stellar, chemistry stellar. I had to suspend disbelief for a lot, but I could care less. I enjoyed everything about this movie. It gave me Devil Wears Prada meets Hallmark, and I loved it.
Mhm.
I just enjoyed this movie to smithereens, and I really loved it.
What do you think, Michelle?
Yeah, this was so hyped. In our little like Hallmark world, like everybody was so hyped for this one. I was a little concerned because I'll be upfront, I do not care about fashion. I don't care. I literally could care less. But I love JC. Like she came into Grey's Anatomy at a time that I was like done with the show. And she was in like a group of interns, and she just like popped immediately from that show. Like she was so good. They gave her like hardly any screen time, which was frustrating, but you could tell she was like a star. Like her whole like crush on Meredith was just like gold to watch. It was so awkward and uncomfortable and funny. So yeah, like when she was announced for this, I was like, oh my God, like perfect, perfect. And like you say, like Benjamin Hollingsworth was like the epitome of heart eyes. Like the second he saw her, he was just gone. He was gone, and you could see it. Like it's definitely one of the best male performances I've ever seen in a Hallmark film of like a guy falling for the girl like immediately, immediately.
Yeah.
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 Yes, I love this movie. I thought it was so good. And I've heard some people say, oh, it was too heavy-handed on the body positivity message. I don't agree because
No.
Yeah.
it's not like it, I would agree if she just had like normal job and she was talking body positivity all the time. But she works in fashion. The whole point of the campaign is
Right.
is part of her
Yeah.
job. So of course she's going
Mhm.
to talk about it a lot because otherwise you're not going to be able to make some kind of change in a business like fashion if you don't talk about it a lot and you don't
Mhm.
really insist upon it. And so to me, I didn't have a problem with the body positivity message. And I hope that like the next movie we can have her, which I hope they do many more because she was great. That you won't even need that element. But for this one, I thought it worked because it's part of her job. I also just loved her performance, that the way that she captured like the confidence that she has, especially at work, but then like the insecurities that she has
Yes.
as far as her personal life. I totally
Yes.
connected with that because
Yes.
I definitely, I mean, I think if somebody like Benjamin Hollingsworth was looking that way and being that
Hello.
swoon worthy to me, I would be like, what are you, you
Yeah.
got like the wrong girl? Like because I feel like I have confidence certainly in podcasting and other things in my life, but like for some reason when it comes to dating, I'm like get super insecure. So
Yes.
I just, she got that dynamic perfect. It was really, I believed it. I thought it was effective. I liked Laura Solstice as this sort of scheming Devil Wears Prada kind of esque character. She was
Like
fun.
so over the top.
Yeah,
So over the
Yes.
top.
but in a good
Yes.
way, I thought. I thought
Mhm.
she was fun, deliciously
Yeah.
kind of the only flaw I would say with her character was that it definitely, she changed around way too fast.
Agree.
Mhm.
You know, all of a
Yeah.
sudden she's like cheering her on at the end, which
Yeah.
it didn't completely work. But I agree with what you all are saying, in that like he didn't have to be convinced to be in love with her, which sometimes you see with plus size characters, that that the love interest has to kind of warm up. No, he was in from the very beginning. He was
Mhm.
smitten. That was so swoon worthy, and I absolutely love that. There was no apologies or like in the fourth Bridgerton book, that we'll see how they do it in the series, but Penelope has to, for Colin to be kind of interested in Penelope, she ends up losing a bunch of weight. And I was just kind of like, why did they put that in? I don't think they'll do that in the series. I
Mhm.
mean, because Nicola Coughlin's so amazing. But I feel like you get that a lot. That like, okay, oh, I guess I like you, even though you're fat. That's sort of what you
Right.
sometimes.
Right.
And
Mhm.
I just this was so refreshing that they didn't go that way.
Woo!
Yeah.
You hit the nail on the head.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mhm.
just like what you said, hoping that characters like JC and like other women like that, the body positivity doesn't have to be the plot line. It could just be that's who they are, and we're telling a story about, I don't know, a maple farm because we're in fall, or
Mm-hmm.
something else. But yeah, oh man, this movie was great.
Yeah. So I would give this movie 4.75. Maybe it wasn't perfect, but it was. And when she shows up in that blue dress, I was like, yes.
That was it.
So
That
good.
was it.
One of my favorites of the year for sure.
For sure.
What would you give it? What would you give it, Michelle?
Yeah, 4.5.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you can get somebody like me to care about fashion, then you're winning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I also like that he has a legit reason to be annoyed with her when she leaves. He's just done this great introduction and she leaves, but it's because she thinks that she doesn't believe him. She's just so insecure.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I thought that was actually written pretty well too, that whole dynamic.
Because
Yeah.
I was actually annoyed with her. I'm like, you're gonna believe this girl who had it out for you from the jump, but all of a sudden now you're gonna believe her what she said about a guy who you've been spending time with for the duration of this movie. So
yeah.
yeah.
And usually you don't have the heroines being kind of flawed like that. So what would you give it, Dara?
Oh, 5. 5. Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Very good. All right. So then we had Journey Ahead, and this Holly Robinson Pete, Kaylee Bryant, Linda Lisa Hayter directing. A famous Hollywood actress and a young wilderness expert drive from Los Angeles to New York. Along the way, both women learn they can't run from their past to create the future they want. So, Michelle, overall, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, I really like this one. It was so different to Hallmark's usual thing. I think personally I sort of related to it in that a lot of my friendships, there's big age gaps. And that's been pretty much my whole life. Like when I started work as a teenager, like one of my best friends in work was closer to 70. Like I've just always had that in my life and you just don't see it on TV. So I thought that was really refreshing. I will say I'm such a big fan of what Hallmark is doing in terms of the people that they're bringing in. There's so many new faces. Most of them are like fantastic. I appreciate that they're casting, for the most part, they're casting openly LGBTQ actors in LGBTQ roles. That's something again you just don't see on TV. I love that Hallmark is just like going for it. It's not a thing in the movie. It's just the world that we live in, which is what we've been wanting from Hallmark for so long. I will say Madeline was so tough to take in the beginning, in a fun way. But when she calms down, like the dynamic between them, the chemistry between them, it just all worked for me. And I will say this is one of the better ones that they've sort of said this is, a different type of love. I will the adoption storyline felt a little shoehorned in. I was like, wait a minute, like what's happening? That kind of was like, oh wait a minute, like we're doing this. So other than that, I think this was like, yeah, great for me. One of the best friendship movies they've ever done.
Yeah, one of the only ones. I mean, this had
Yeah,
very little romance, so that was kind of
yeah,
fun. It was
Yeah.
refreshing.
mhm,
What do you think,
Yeah.
Dara?
Piggybacking off of that, I was nervous with the little bit of romance that I figured this
mhm,
movie was going to get, because I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a fan of Holly Robinson Pete's morning show mysteries, so I was a little bit
mhm,
nervous going into this, and I know I'm committing blasphemy saying this, I haven't seen her Christmas movies yet, so the only thing that I know from her is morning show mysteries. So I was like, oh, I don't know. But this is my favorite Holly Robinson Pete anything on Hallmark. I
mhm,
loved what she brought to the Madeline character, how obnoxious she was, but you also could see how she was operating from hurt, because her gentleman caller just cheated on her, and then
Yeah.
she had,
Oh my
like
God.
that was wild. I was
That
not
was crazy.
expecting that. Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen it yet. Like that, I haven't seen that before. And I was just like, oh, so we went there.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I love the dynamic between that they did between Madeline and what was the young girl's name? I forgot her name.
Sarah.
Sarah, I love their dynamic and how like they told each other off, but yet at the same time grounded each other, and that they both could learn from each other. And even the age difference in that, the cultural difference in that, even the little moments where like every time Holly was eating, I was happy. Like when she was eating the burger,
Oh
that's
my
going
God.
down as like my favorite scene in Hallmark cinema. Like that was just fantastic. And one of my favorite things, I'm so grateful that they gave Sarah that moment to talk with her mom, and that it didn't feel contrived. Like the whole couple of scenes or whatever that chunk was, it felt natural, it felt organic. Like you can tell that they disagreed with one another, but they were both working with each other to come to some type of resolution with each other, and I appreciated that so much. I enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, I like that too. And it was fun as a Heartland podcaster and fan to see Jessica Steen, who plays Lisa on Heartland, playing Sarah's mom. Like,
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
I was so like nervous that she was going to be mean, and I was like, no,
Yeah.
this can't happen. Lisa's not mean.
That's right. Yeah, but Lachlan Monroe, he is so good at playing the terrible husband. I mean, we've all seen The Mistletoe Promise. He is a supervillain in that movie.
I forgot that was him. I love him in that. Yes.
So he's the worst in that. I mean, in a good way, he's the worst.
And he was in Curious Caterer earlier this year as Nikki's ex-husband.
Yeah, but I mean, they usually don't do outright cheating on Hallmark movies.
That's
I know
true.
this is Movies and Mysteries, but he was a real. I mean, he's bringing the girls over to her summer house. I mean, that was a lot.
The girl who took her part. It was the actress who took her part. I said, y'all dirty. That was so dirty.
It was also fun to see Mark Humphrey as the love interest. He was on One Calls the Heart as Pastor Frank for a while. I haven't seen him in anything else for a long time, so that was fun to see him again. I thought they had pretty nice chemistry in just a few scenes. It's funny when they go whitewater rafting and she's all like, I'm not a strong swimmer. I'm like, you have a life vest. You don't need to swim.
But I guess she doesn't know, since she doesn't swim, that she got a life vest on, so she don't have to swim.
That was funny.
I did like what'd you think about the ending with her buying the movie theater at the end? And I'm assuming we're to assume that she moves there, or that's like a second home or something like that.
I thought it was cute. It was a nice ending. And I do agree that the adoption sort of storyline it felt a little wedged in, but the actual meeting, when they do actually meet, worked for me. I thought there was an emotional truth there, and it was well acted. Natasha Burnett, she's also on One Calls the Heart.
I knew she looked familiar. I was like, I knew it.
British accent in real life, which is funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was just refreshing. It's nice. I think that if somebody were to watch this and isn't a Hallmark fan, I don't think they get as much out of it as all of us who watch it and are like, wow, this is something different. They were really trying something different. And you know, I've always liked a good road trip movie. So I think I mean, it's a little confusing of why she would want to get I understand she doesn't want the paparazzi or whatever, but like, I don't think the paparazzi they would just see her going into the hospital. I don't think that they would know what she's going into for. I don't know. I feel like having to go to New York for this biopsy is kind of a weird reason for the road trip, but whatever. It works.
You got to suspend disbelief for reality at some point. That's right. You know?
Yes. So I would give this a 4. I'm going to give 4 crowns. What about you, Michelle?
Yeah, 4. Yeah, 4 for me.
What do you think, Dara?
4s all around.
All
Yep.
right.
Today's episode of the podcast is sponsored by W Rated, the podcast where we willingly watch the world's worst rated movies. Join me, Daisy.
And me, Claire, as we break down the IMDb Bottom 100, choosing a different film from the list every episode.
We take a deep dive into the plot, production, release, and reviews, usually with a special guest, to uncover if these films are truly as bad as everyone says they are.
You can find us on Spotify, Apple, Good Pods, and anywhere else you find your podcasts.
Then we have Dating the Delaneys. We're only halfway through. Okay, so we have Dating the Delaneys, Rachel Boston, Paul Campbell, Alan Harmon directing. 3 generations of Delaney women explore the highs and lows of modern dating and learning that love and romance can be found at any age and sometimes where you least expect it. So what do you think about this one? What do you think, Michelle?
Again, this is another one that felt like a pilot to a TV show.
Yeah, I agree.
I will say, like, have Rachel and Paul been in something together before?
Yes, Last
Yeah.
Bridesmaid.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Oh, something completely went out of my head, but yeah, they're so good together. And this, like, I think they really made it work for me. Otherwise it would have felt a little bit. I mean, nobody can sell a cringy joke like Paul Campbell. Like, he was just cringy jokes all the way through, and I think for the most part it kind of worked, but again, it just felt like it was doing so much. And the teen storyline sort of didn't work because who eventually became the girl's love interest just did not look like a teenager. I was like, yeah, you're like a late 20s, like
Yeah.
year old man. Like that's just not working for me. Yeah, like it's not happening. The older, her mum's romance, I would have loved to have seen more of that. Like, we just don't see older relationships on Hallmark. We don't even see younger relationships on Hallmark. But yeah, it would have been nice to see a little bit more of that. Yeah, for the most part it worked. I just felt like it was doing too much, and again, it just felt like so much was crammed in, and it felt like the pilot to a TV show that we're never going to see.
Yeah. What about you, Dara? What do you think?
My sentiments exactly. What attracted me and what made me excited the most about this movie was that we were getting the perspective of 3 generations of women.
Yeah.
So I was so excited to see the grandmother, Rachel Boston's character, and then the daughter. But it was like they introduced grandmama, then they said, all right, here's the door, bye. And then now we're just left with Rachel Boston and then the side dish of her daughter. And that disappointed me a lot. It took me a lot out of the movie because that was the grandmother's perspective was the one I was actually looking forward to the most. Love me some Karen Kruper. So I was looking forward to seeing more of her as well. But I just watched The Last Bridesmaid before watching this, and I could watch Rachel and Paul together for hours. I think they created such like a natural ease with each other that's just so charming and endearing. And there were some super cute moments in this movie. One of my favorites, I'll just say really quick, was when he ordered her food. I was like,
yeah, that was
right
so
now,
cute. The Chinese.
Yes. So send out save the dates, let's get married, because that was like, I just loved that moment so much. But I was taken out of the story a lot. And they tried to put fall in, but I was like, y'all might as well not even try with the whole pecan cake.
Yeah,
I was like, don't now try to inject some fall because y'all haven't been doing it the rest of the time. But other than that, I like I said, I could watch Rachel and Paul for hours. So
yeah,
that was what kept me in the movie for me.
I enjoyed it. I do think we need to have like a pageant of terrible ex-husbands for this because Brendan's up. So
this was the month of the ex-husband.
Yeah. I love Brendan Zoop. I think he's great. But he was frustrating in this movie. And then Casey Manderson stole the movie as this just date from hell. Hilarious. I just loved this movie. I mean, when they go to the concert, he's just
oh my God.
asking about her daughter, I was like, "Are you like?" He literally fixed his mouth to say those words. I said, "What in the world?"
And I thought he was great. He was, I mean, just over the top, but in a
Yes.
funny way to me. And they need to use him more. I'd love for him to get another. He was the lead in a movie for Up, 'Tis the Seasons, I think was what it was called, or Seasons Great. It was with Laura Bell Bundy. Look it up. It's actually a fun movie. But I don't know, he really owned the role and did a great job, and it was very funny, I thought. And I agree on the Chinese food. That was very sweet and thoughtful. And I don't know who thinks that pineapple upside down cake is the worst cake. That is false.
That was random.
That was random. I've never actually had it. Is it good?
I think yes, because it's got like caramel on top.
Oh, say no more. I didn't even know. Oh wow. that sounds good. That does sound good.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said along that I think the best cake is yellow cake with chocolate frosting, because then you get like just enough chocolate, but you have the buttery cake. I think that is the best cake. But I think that pineapple down cake is solid cake. The pecan pie cake that she makes, I don't know. That sounds like the best cake. But you do get a little frustrated with her that she's so oblivious to the fact that they're actually going on dates and he's actually interested in her. You know, like, would anybody really be that sort of clueless that they, when especially someone that had successfully had a relationship and got married, like, I don't know. That was sometimes a little frustrating with her character. That she felt like she was kind of walking all over him a little bit and taking advantage of him. But then it kind of ended cute, and they had pretty good banter, I thought. And I don't know, overall, I enjoyed it. So I don't know, Michelle, what would you give this one? 1 to 5?
3.5. Yeah, I really liked it, but yeah, it didn't work on all the levels that I hoped that it would.
Dara, what do you think?
Same thing for the same reason, 3.5.
Yeah, I agree. All right, then we have Groundswell, and this is Lacey Chabert, Hector Rivera, Lee Friedlander directing. On the heels of a personal and professional setback, Chef Emma travels to Hawaii, where she meets Ben, a handsome, reclusive surf instructor whose lessons help her to regain her footing. So, Dara, what do you think of this one overall?
I was surprised by it. With the previews, I'm thinking, why is this on Hallmark Movies and Mysteries? It seems like a Hallmark Channel movie, because I didn't get like the depth of the drama that they were going to include in it. But watching it, oh, it was beautiful. I love the food. We get an ex-boyfriend who's a bum. He's a jerk. Horrible. He's like Gordon Ramsay wannabe. Like, I hated him. And I loved Hector Rivera in this. Unfortunately, I didn't like his previous movie, Sugar Plum Twist. So I'm happy that we did get to see him again in this role. And he was phenomenal. My favorite was the dynamic, though, between, I believe Hector Rivera's character's name is Ben, his brother, and Lacey's character, Emma. That was actually my favorite dynamic in the movie, to see them cook together, and then the food. Oh, gosh, that was another character in and of itself, and I loved it. This movie felt like a comfort movie to me. Like, it's like a Saturday brunch type of movie that I could just chill and watch on a wonderful Saturday afternoon. So I really enjoyed it.
What do you think, Michelle?
Yeah, this felt like I mean, when you pull back, it's a very generic Hallmark movie. When you just look at all of the sort of bullet points of the plot and the characters, and it felt a little bit like the sort of Hall of Fame movies that they've been doing in the last sort of few years. A very sort of typical Hallmark movie, but like a larger budget. But I think anything Lacey's in, she elevates. I don't know if that's just me. Like, I grew up with Earn Party of 5. Her character was always the one I related to the most, because we were close in age, and so yeah, seeing her in these movies, they just all elevate for me. I thought the way that they filmed the surf scenes was phenomenal for a Hallmark movie. Like so good,
Yes.
like so good. The way they sort of photographed Hawaii, again, phenomenal. The way they sort of introduced Puerto Rican culture, again, like it wasn't sort of
Yes.
didn't feel like it was sort of teaching you a lesson. It felt like a very natural conversation. Hector
Yes.
was fantastic. I've never seen him in anything before. So yeah, like really a win for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie, and I think this could be a star-making role for Hector. I thought he was
Mhm.
really good
Yeah.
in it. Not, I mean, of course
Yeah.
he's handsome. We all know that, obviously, but I thought he was there for the more dramatic
Yeah.
moments. I mean, when he
Yes.
breaks down, when he finds the
Woo.
letter,
Yeah.
that got me.
Yes.
He did a
Yeah.
good job with that. And then I agree about the relationship with his brother. And then when
So
the brother
good.
says that that was a terrible day, but
Mhm.
Mm.
yeah, when we lost Isabella, it was a terrible day, but I lost my brother as well that day.
Mm.
That was good. Well done. I liked all the food scenes. It was fun to have Katie Lee there.
Yeah.
And Leanne Wong, who was also was on Top Chef the season she hosted.
Oh, awesome.
That was kind of fun to have them as the judges. And then of course Garrett comes in. He's like, and I
His
guess
mom.
at the premiere, Anne said that like everybody was, because they premiered this at Christmas Con, and I guess everybody was like booing at Garrett, which would have been really fun to be in the
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah.
My flight was too late, I didn't get to go, but that would have been fun. But yeah, the surfing scenes are great. I love Hawaii. I love the ocean, so that's an easy win for me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I thought they had good chemistry. I was pulling for it. I really liked the ending. That house he lives at with that deck and
Yeah.
right into the ocean. Oh,
Oh,
dream life.
yes.
Dream life. Doing very well as a they must have some kind of rank control or something like that.
Yeah.
She's doing very well as a surf instructor. Who evidently spends a lot of time with his pupils
Mhm.
there. At least according to what he does with Lacey. But yeah, I just enjoyed it, all the elements of it. And yeah, the ending where they have sort of sister restaurants, because she's sort of debating, because Garrett offers her own restaurant, what's she gonna do? And then Ben thinks, oh, well, she's gonna accept it and then go away. Which sometimes I don't like that as a conflict of like,
Mhm.
we can't be together because neither of us is willing to move.
Mhm.
But it worked for me pretty much in this one. I also liked when she's like, everybody likes Christmas movies.
I thought that was such a wink, and I love that.
Yeah,
I love
it's
that.
really funny. So I give this one 4.5 crowns. I really enjoyed it. What about you, Michelle?
Yeah, 4.75 for me.
Dara?
I'm 4.5 as well. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Then we have Game Set Love. And this is Davida Williams, Richard Harmon, Jessica Harmon, director. Former tennis pro Taylor reluctantly agrees to coach her friend and the bad boy of tennis, Will, for a mixed doubles tournament, only to find there's a lot more to him than she thought. So for me, this movie was so fun. I loved this movie. I thought they had really great chemistry. I absolutely loved the dancing / kiss scene. It was so well done. It was one of the more swoon-worthy moments on Hallmark in a long time, I thought.
Mhm.
They just had great chemistry, and yeah, that's one I'll be rewinding and watching many times, that scene. It was so good. And I did feel a little bad for his original partner because she had one injury and she's gone.
Gone.
That
Yep.
sucks.
Mhm.
I think the whole dynamic with his parents was maybe a little bit less successful.
Mhm.
I mean, I can understand what she did. She was trying to be nice, but I don't know. It was just a little awkward. That I don't know if it completely even made sense. He would have to have had a certain degree of support to get where he got, but evidently they didn't support him. So I don't know how that he was able to become, because it's expensive to become a tennis pro. So I'm not sure exactly how that all worked. But they had such good chemistry. I just loved their banter back and forth, and so that was enough for me. What do you think, Dara?
This movie, I was sleeping on it. I was like, ugh, I guess I could catch it live. I had no expectations, and it slapped me in the face, and I loved it. I loved everything about, I shouldn't say everything. I had so much fun. He's one of my favorite male characters because you love to hate to love him.
Yeah.
Like he's so obnoxious and like arrogant, but you enjoy it. And it's just, he was so fun, and their dynamic was fun, and everything about this movie was fun. And with the parent thing, I saw that as them trying to bring some type of depth to the character. I was like, who cares? Like, I just, I really enjoyed this movie. The kiss at the end, I said, what? Do y'all need a moment? Like, whoa, I loved it. I don't know. Hallmark loves candles because the lake house was doused in candles when they went away for the weekend. So I was like, look at them go. They thought they were going for a team build. It was a romantic weekend.
Yeah. Jack and Elizabeth are going to propose. It got all these.
Hello. Right. I was just genuinely so surprised, and I'm surprised in a good way, and I'm grateful that this movie turned out the way that it did.
Yeah. Michelle, what do you think?
This was probably my most anticipated Hallmark movie of the year.
Because you're a big tennis fan, right?
Tennis is like everything. I'm not as big into it as I used to be. Like pretty much all of January I would be on like an Australian timetable because I would stay up and watch the Australian Open, all of the lead up tournaments. Like it was just such a huge part of my life for so long. I was such a fan. I would follow players kind of all over the world on TV. Like it cost a lot of money to follow all these different streaming services, and so yeah, I was worried because they never get tennis right in movies. They never get it right. It's such a unique sport, because it is next to golf, I think, the most active sport. The tour goes all year round. If you were going to play from the beginning of the season right to the end, you would maybe have like a couple of weeks off. Like it's so intense. And so when they have these movies of these people just like hanging out, it's like you can't do that. You have to like get ready for the next thing. It was also just so anticipated because of Richard. I'm such a huge fan of Richard. I've been a fan for years. He's so good in shows like Continuum, The Hundred. The Hundred, he plays like this morally grey character that you hate. You absolutely despise him. And then by the end of the season, he's the most loved character on the show. Like he's such a phenomenal actor. He's also like Hallmark royalty without ever really being in a Hallmark movie. I think he was in one when he was a teenager, but his sister's a director, his mum's a producer, his dad's a director, his girlfriend's Rhiannon Fish, who's like a nature girl at the minute. So I've just been waiting on him.
I hope they do a movie together. That would be amazing.
So. It would be so good. So I've just been waiting on him coming into Hallmark, and they need to keep him. They need to keep him. Personally, they need to keep him. He was so good. Like I felt like he would be good if they cast him right, and they did. William is perfect for him. This whole bad boy of tennis, that leaning into the sort of Nick Kyrgios thing of like not being mean, but just being dramatic, just being a brat, like just being antagonistic for like the sake of it, for the drama. Like it was so good. So yeah, this I really loved it. I do wish that the tennis had been more in it. I was laughing because like the first round of the tournament that they played, it was one point, and it was like 6-4 in the first set, and I was like, are you kidding me? It was 1 point and we're at 6-4 already. I understand with the budget, and I did see some stuff on Instagram of Jessica Harmon, making this movie, and they had a lot of issues with rain, which they ended up including in the movie just because they had to film. they had to film through sort of a monsoon. So yeah, I sort of forgive them a little bit because they had sort of budget constraints. But overall, this was like, it's good when it's so anticipated and it works. You
Yeah.
know, with it,
And
yeah,
and
it
brilliant
just made me
title.
happy. Yeah,
Games
brilliant
That
title.
Love.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
This is just happiness for me. This movie.
Brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant. I mean, yeah, the Harmon family representing.
Oh yeah,
They
crazy.
are we're grateful.
No, he was dating Rhiannon Fish.
Yes.
Yeah, they met on the hundreds. Yeah, they were on the hundred. Yeah, and they like were doing fan conventions, and I think they like fell in love while they were doing those because they weren't really on the show together. But yeah,
Oh,
that's so cute.
I think that this Richard Harmon, if he wants, he could have a similar Tyler Hines-ish energy career
Yeah.
on Hallmark movies if he wanted. I think he
Mhm.
has the similar edge that
Mhm.
Tyler has. I think that he could, there's something swoon worthy, like a similar type of swoon worthiness that they could both have, I think. I loved the two of them together. Davita Williams, she was great, really
Yeah.
warm, really good performance. Their
Yeah, they need to
banter.
keep her. They need to keep her. She's so
Yes.
good.
Yes.
And
Yes.
she was so good at the tennis stuff as well. Like the sort of serve was on point. It was really, really good.
Mhm.
And I thought the relationship with her and her dad was really successful as well.
Yeah, that was very well done.
Yes.
You know, that she thought she needed to like protect him. And you know,
Mhm.
then they have that whole conversation of you need to go and live your life. I'm gonna be fine. It'll be okay. Kind
Mhm.
of a thing. That was very good. And the kiss, like I said, was so
Mhm.
good. And yeah, we get Casey Manderson back as the commentator. So that was
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, yeah. And I liked that they had sort of the Venus Williams aspect. Her sort of brand 11 was heavily sort of throughout the movie. Then you had Tracy Austin doing the commentaries.
Yeah.
So yeah, I liked that they sort of brought some real world tennis stuff into the movie as well.
Yeah. So I would give this I really enjoyed it. I'm gonna give it a 4.75 crowns. I just thought it was a very strong Hallmark movie. What about you, Dara?
I'm giving it 4.5.
Mm-hmm. And Michelle?
5. Yeah,
Yeah.
5 for me.
All right.
We got a 5 from Michelle.
Yes. Okay, last one, and we're only, like I said, we're only going to talk about this briefly. Is Unthinkably Good Things. This was on the 28th. Karen Pittman, Joyful Drake, Erica Ash, Terry Vaughn, and the summary is like super long, but basically it's about these 3 friends who go to Italy the 2 of them go to Italy to visit their friend who's there teaching. And we have them all forced to make kind of decisions, and they each have their insecurities. And yeah, this is the first of our Mahogany movies. And like I said, we're going to have a whole episode just on this movie coming. And so, or we actually, I think, would have already had it. I think it posts before this will post. But anyway, Dara, what'd you think overall of this movie?
I love this movie. The chemistry between them as friends felt like they knew each other before they filmed this, but they didn't. Like they just met in filming. And this is by far the best friendship movie I've ever watched on Hallmark. Like they were so now to the point where I didn't care about their love interest. I didn't care about Nico with Allison. I didn't care about Melina getting with the guy from cooking class. I didn't care. I just loved their friendship, and I wanted to see them on screen all the time. And much like what you said, Michelle, this was a pilot to me for like a series, because I could like there was so much richness in the like story, like how much stuff they tried to like stuff in the movie that they can unravel so much with subsequent shows or series. Like this was a pilot for sure. But I loved it. Italy, gorgeous. The women, gorgeous. The men, gorgeous. The fashion was great. I loved the friendship, and it was just really, really good for me.
Yeah, and Joyful said in our interview that she felt like there was a good chance that we would get a sequel. So
oh, I hope so. It deserves it.
Yeah. What do you think, Michelle?
Yeah, I mean, my only criticism is that, you know, they don't get a movie each. I feel like they really deserve to get a movie each.
Yeah.
You know,
Kind of
they were
Wedding Veil
also
style.
yeah,
I was gonna say,
yeah, that should have been the Wedding Veil movies.
Yeah.
They were also unique, and different, but such a believable friendship group. The banter between them felt real. I liked that they were not that they argued, but you could tell the love was there. Like it all came from a place of love. And I loved Risa. Like she was so nerdy and dorky. Like the yoga scene like killed me. Um yeah, like I just wish we got more of this world. And I even didn't mind that it was in Italy. Like we've had so much Italy. Like you would think we would be sick of it at this point, but I didn't actually mind.
They gave us
yeah,
a break.
Yeah, we've
We
gotten
got back.
so much Italy.
yeah. So yeah, I just wish, you know, this was a series that, and if it's not, we at least deserve to see these actresses in other Hallmark movies.
Sure.
Like and Jermaine Love, like, oh my god, like cast him in something
Please.
else, like yeah, like, gorgeous. Like cast him in something else. Put him in a Christmas movie, please.
Yeah. I enjoyed it too. I liked all three of the plots. I liked the friendship, thought they had nice chemistry together. The Italian setting was beautiful. And it was overall, you know, fun time. I thought Karen Pittman was great, and she's a very good actress. And all three of them, but that she really brought it with her struggle of where she's going to teach and what she wants to do with her life, her insecurities. Yeah, I also enjoyed Erica Ash's Risa. She was very, very cute and funny. And I thought her story was something you don't always see in Hallmark movies, as far as think she's like thinking about leaving her husband and getting an apartment. And usually I feel like it's the husband leaving, you know, these bad husbands that we've been having. So not that she was a bad wife, but I'm just saying it was interesting that it was her trying to make this choice and what she was going to do, and then sort of the resolve. I guess my only like critique is I just hope that these Mahogany movies, that they allow them to have a little bit more fun sometimes. There was a lot of conflict in this movie, a lot of seriousness, which is fine. And I thought it was done well. But I sometimes feel like Hallmark interprets we need diverse films, diverse casts, as we need more dramas. And I think that people of color deserve to have silly rom-coms made about them too. LGBTQ audiences deserve to have fun rom-coms made about them. So I don't know. I just hope that we get a mix with this Mahogany brand, and that some of them are just cute, fun romances without all the like big drama pregnancies and things like that. So that's would be my only feedback to Hallmark. Otherwise, I really did enjoy it. It was a fun film.
Yeah. I'm just nervous though, because they're pushing Mahogany through movies and mysteries. And
I know.
Movies and mysteries is the drama, basically Hallmark drama's little sister. So I don't know what if that even, hopefully I was thinking hopefully we get a Mahogany Christmas movie like on Hallmark Channel. Like maybe they'll do something like that at least. But I don't know if we'll get a life of, I hope so. I echo your sentiments. Like I hope so that we get something like that.
Yeah, you don't. I think there's, and I think sometimes even Hallmark buys into this idea that the dramatic films are more important, and if we're going to be making if we're going to be making a film that celebrates diversity, it has to be important. So it's got to have all this drama. No, it's okay. We can have fun too.
Game, set, love. We could do that.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. So, what would you give this one, Michelle?
4. Yeah, 4. And I feel like it will probably go up on rewatch. I think I was just like, oh, is this all we're getting by the end?
What do you think, Dara?
5.
I'm gonna give it a 4 as well. I think that's a good. So there we go. A great month. I really, really enjoyed these movies, and it was so much fun to get to recap them with you guys. So thank you so much for coming on and doing this. And let us know if you're listening what you think of all these movies. How many crowns would you give them? I know we talked about a lot, but they just made a lot. So what are you gonna do?
Yep.
So Dara, where can people find you?
Yeah, they can find me at Dear Hallmark on both Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and wherever your ear takes in podcasts.
Great. And Michelle, where can people find you?
On Twitter at Michelle R. Benson, and talking with Rachel on Talking Heartland pretty much every week.
Yes. Yes. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. Check that out. Also, make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. And if you are listening on iTunes to either of our podcasts, Dara's podcast or ours, please leave your reviews and ratings, 5 stars. It really helps us a lot, people to find out where we are. And so check that out, please. And also make sure to check out the Patreon group and merch store. We have a ton of fun over there, and we really appreciate that support. And we also, if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. And yeah, happy end of summer, beginning of fall, everybody. Bye.
Yes.